All right. Hi, everyone. How are you? Monica here with the best interest of the parent. I'm glad that you're joining me. It is Tuesday. It's not Monday because I was having issues yesterday, as you may know. So I'm going to apologize in advance because I don't know if my voice is going to survive the remainder of this live stream, because today, Tuesday, is a coaching day for me. I've been talking for hours, and my voice is like just starting to go. So let's just do the best we can. Now, if you're joining me for the first time, I'm just going to give you a little insight of who I am and what I do. I'm a health coach, I'm an author, and I'm a parental rights activist. And I teach a course called The Best Interest of the Parent. That course is actually going to be released again next week. And I want you to take advantage of the free masterclass that I'm going to be holding. Oh my gosh, I'm going to die. I'm holding 2 masterclasses next week, next Wednesday, March 3rd and Thursday, March 4th. The link to sign up for the masterclass is included here in the comments or in the description. So do take advantage of that. It's free. Just show up, bring some popcorn, bring your opinions. I'm just kidding. Don't bring your opinions. No, bring your opinions. There will be opportunity to share your opinions, but definitely bring an open mind, sense of humor, and some popcorn. And I want you to understand that you can get through this family court ordeal. You absolutely can. You can come out of this whole family court mess super amazing, badass, and powerful. We're going to be talking about that tonight. And I see people are already hopping on because everybody loves to talk about how family court has impacted their finances. And I think the reason we tend to look at our finances is 2 reasons. A, you can measure your finances. If you have $100 in the bank or if you don't have any money in the bank, you could actually see that in black and white. You could tell. And then when a guardian ad litem charges you $5,000, you could actually see the quantitative quality. I don't know. You could see the value. You could see the dollar value that is being assigned to that service. And when you pay the $5,000, you're now out $5,000, and the guardian ad litem is just going to piss it away anyway. So you could kind of measure the level of intensity of what you're losing with the dollar value. And so, because we could actually measure money, it's easy to keep track of the money that we're losing and the money that's being taken from us in the system. And I think the other reason why parents focus on money so much is because when you're focusing on money, you kind of get to externalize your problems. Money is an external issue. It's not an internal issue. I mean, money does have a spiritual component to it, but for the most part, money is something that's outside of you. It's not really a part of you. It's not your kidney. It's not your thyroid. It's not your hair falling out. It's not your skin conditions breaking out in rashes and hives and stuff. Money is very neutral. It just sits there. It doesn't have any feelings. And so when we can kind of focus oh my God, the court system costs me so much money, it's kind of easy to measure the damage of the court system in terms of dollars. So I think that's a couple of reasons why parents focus on money so much. So we're going to be talking about a very unique perspective. And you'll notice, if you've been following me for a long time, if you read my book, if you watch my stuff, you'll see that I don't talk about money ever. I mean, I do say that knowing your rights and setting boundaries saves you money, because if you could say no, the word no has a ton of cash value to it, because when you say no, you're not enrolling in services that you don't need and that are going to actually hurt you. And even if you're forced into those services, you can actually stop that ruling to go and appeal. And I think appeals are less expensive than paying for that service if you're forced into it. And I'm not going to get into that today, but overall, using your rights is cheaper than not using your rights. Giving your rights away is expensive. Using your rights is cheaper. And so, so I do talk about that a little bit, but I don't really talk about the intricate things that money holds in our lives. So the reason I never talked about that before, there's a reason for that, is because I have been healing from my money shit. I swore, sorry, for years, since the very, 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 very beginning. And so the thing about a financial loss is that it takes a long time to come out of it. Okay. And I have this rule where I'm not going to coach on something that I haven't myself mastered. So I certainly wasn't going to, there's a lot of things that I held back with sharing with my people because I hadn't yet gotten there. And then once I overcame a challenge, then I could start talking about it. So that's kind of my rule. And I'm not 100% there. I'm not totally all better and now I get to talk about it, but I'm definitely entering into a realm of normalcy when it comes to finances. And I do think I'm qualified now to talk about this. And I'm so excited because I've been wanting to talk about this for so long. And I was like, I'm not ready yet. I got it, but now I'm ready. And here I am sharing this with you. So what I have seen repeatedly, and I've seen this with my own behavior, is that family court has, parents in family court have acquired a broke mindset, like a poor and a very impoverished mindset when it comes to money as it relates to the system. Like they kind of attribute their financial issues with the family court system. They kind of like superimpose and collapse these two issues together. And I'm here to tell you that they're completely separate, 100% separate. Yes. Does it cost money to go to family court? Absolutely. Does it cost a lot of money to have a child taken from you? Yes. Child support's wildly expensive. Between me and my husband, we pay more in child support than we do our mortgage. It's insane. So, and we certainly pay more money to our 3 boys than we do our 2 daughters. Like our daughters get like 64th of the pie that our sons get. I mean, it's just crazy. So it is expensive to go to family court, transcripts, appeals, attorneys, that's all expensive. But I'm telling you that these are really, truly separate issues. They're separate. And I'm going to explain why. And I'm going to take on a very unique position because everywhere you go, people condense, they collapse these two issues together. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. You're allowed to have a shitload of legal abuse in your life, and you're allowed to have a healthy relationship with money. You can have a healthy relationship with money and have a ton of issues with the court system, with the legal system. You can have a lot of issues with your ex and a really, really good relationship with money. You can have a healthy relationship with money. You can do it. Your circumstances don't define how you are with money. Okay. Just like your circumstances don't define whether or not you take care of your health. Your circumstances don't define whether or not you are dateable, whether you could get into a relationship again. Your circumstances don't define you, period. You would not tell someone in a wheelchair that they can't be athletic, right? So why would you think that just because you're going through a massive legal tragedy that you can't have a healthy relationship with money? You would not tell someone with a learning disability that they can't get a master's degree. So why would you tell yourself that you can't have things in life? You can't own a house. You can't clear your bankruptcy. Like you can't really clear a bankruptcy for 10 years, but why would you tell yourself that just because you were abused severely in the legal system that you now don't have opportunities? You can't save for retirement. You can't put your kids through college. You can't clear out your debts. Why are you doing that? You're doing that, and you're doing the same thing that people tell you not to do when it comes to people who are disabled or whatever. You wouldn't tell someone who's not very attractive that they can't find a partner, right? I mean, there's sometimes genetics aren't very favorable to some people, but everybody's dateable, everybody's lovable, everybody can find a really quality and passionate relationship, regardless of what you look like. Trust me on that. Trust me. Like there's no limitations. So don't put one on you. Don't make your family court story your money story. They're different. They're different stories. And so this is so amazing to me. Like I love talking about this because I'll give you some history on me. I grew up in extreme poverty. My mom didn't even want to collect state assistance because it wasn't in her culture. She's Hispanic, and her upbringing was you don't ask the government for help, period. And she carried that. Like she's like, she was too proud to ask for state assistance, but trust me, we would have qualified for a lot of government assistance. So I was the kid that was in school with no lunch, even though we probably would have qualified for free lunch. My mom didn't enroll in that program. We didn't have food stamps. We didn't have heating assistance. So I remember not having a winter coat. I would often get my sister's old winter coat, and my sister was younger than me. So, my sister, so this is kind of funny. My sister's birthday's in November, and she's younger than me. So for her birthday every year, she would always get a winter coat. And when she got her winter coat for her birthday, I got her old coat. Okay. So it was kind of like reverse hand-me-downs. I was like, hand me up. And so like, that's the kind of poverty I went through. And even like her boots, she would often get like winter boots for her birthday. And we grew up in Minnesota. So like, you get winter boots in September. And so I would get her old boots. And I just remember like stuffing my feet into like small boots. I remember never having lunch in school. and this is the 80s, so it was like acceptable to not have lunch in school. There's no one called the authorities. And so there was a lot of poverty, and like, it was common to just add extra water to the can of soup. Like, there was 4 kids, so if they say to add 2 cans of water to the Kemple soup, my mom would tell me to add 4 cans of water. So that was just a way of life. I didn't know we were in poverty. Like, I didn't know we were poor, but we were freaking poor. And so I grew up just with that mindset, and I carried that well into my 20s, into my 30s. Like, you don't really grow out of your upbringing unless you consciously tweak your thoughts and adopt new beliefs, and don't let your patterns and your programming make those your beliefs. So I had to do a lot of reprogramming and all that stuff. And it's great. Like, I'm not mad that I grew up in poverty, but I did have to do a lot of shifting around with my belief system. I had to really work on that. And so I believe that when parents come out of family court broke and just in this impoverished mindset, they most likely they had some sort of conditioning early on in life. Maybe they didn't grow up in extreme poverty, but there was some conditioning. Like, we all have it. All of us have had conditioning from our family about money, and some of it's good, some of it's not good. And that's just fine. That's just the way it is. Like, that's what our parents do. They do the best they can. And so it's up to us to decide to establish a healthy relationship with money. And that has nothing to do with your circumstances. So I have only met one parent who has a healthy relationship with money. And I was like, whoa. So she was the kind of person that she felt like money was always going to be there for her. She had a very abundant mindset about money. She felt like money is a tool to help her get through life. And interesting. So she made 6 figures, and she served time in jail. And the family court system sent her to jail for 3 months. And she went to prison. She was literally incarcerated for 3 months. This is a mom in my state. I followed her case very closely. I went to her hearings. I watched her proceedings, and she went to jail. And so she lost her job to go to jail. She came out of jail with a criminal record. And the reason she didn't go to jail, by the way, is because she was keeping her kids from their abuser. She wouldn't send her kids to the other parent's house because they were being abused. And what would happen was the kids would run away from home. They would leave the abuser's house, and like they would, I swear, like, I think they like hitchhiked. They literally hitchhiked to moms. They found a way to get to moms, and they were always doing that. And the mom was like, you have to go to your dad, And so after a few months of that, the family court threw her in jail. Totally illegal, by the way, because she didn't commit any crimes. So anyway, she went to jail for 3 months, and she had to leave behind her 6-figure job. And guess what? She came out of jail, freaking shaved her legs, went to the salon probably. And she went and got another 6-figure job. Okay. And I was like, wow. Like, and so she didn't allow her family court story to collapse with her money story. And she just did it. And she had something like 25% of the value of her home was in the possession of her former attorney. Her attorney sued her, and her attorney got a lien on her home. So anytime she wanted to make any updates to the house, like put a new roof on or, build a shed or something, she had to consult with her former attorney. Totally this is Connecticut. All right. This is like how Connecticut attorneys are. So even though she owned her own house, she still had to like own the house with her former attorney. And so she's been through a lot of abuse, tons of abuse. She still doesn't have her kids. Her kids, like, she doesn't have her kids. So anyway, I'm just illustrating to you that circumstances, no matter how bad your case is, you do not have to let that spill into your money story. And so I was guilty of this. So when I was first sued for custody, this is what I did. I used credit cards to fund my litigation. And there was no limit. There was no limit to what I would do. It was like, I want my son back. He was 3 years old. He was in preschool, and I had almost no access to him. I only saw him 1 day a week. And I said, I want my son back. And I was literally just applying for every credit card in the world. And I would just max it out to get legal counsel to get my son back, because I wanted my son back so bad. I was willing to just literally go completely underground to do that. And that was my way of managing it. And so I created a gigantic problem for myself by doing that. And once you have 20 credit cards, or I think I had like 12. Once you have 12 credit cards, that's not sustainable, not on a massage therapist income. Okay. And so, cause like my income wasn't going up to accommodate these ridiculous bills I was generating for myself. And I ended up defaulting on 2 of them after 5 years of paying just the minimums. I mean, oh my God, just thinking about this, you get exhausted. It's like, oh, I can't even imagine. So for 5 years, I paid just the minimums. It was like $25 here, $35 here, $55 here for 5 years. That's all I did. And in 2015, I was like, I could not keep up anymore. Okay. I was on maternity leave. I was like, I can't freaking do this anymore. So I defaulted on 2 of them, and like another 9 of them, or I think I defaulted on 2. I let 2 of them go into collections, and they ended up becoming charge-offs, which kills your credit score. Like my credit score went down like 150 points into the 500s. And I kept the other 9, and I have been paying those off all this time. Okay. And so now I'm doing this live stream, and I'm almost completely done with all that. And holy crap, just to think that I'm literally healing from this catastrophe. And I feel like my life is just opening up for me so bad. Like it's just, and what really helped me with all this was I started following Dave Ramsey. Okay. You guys probably heard of Dave Ramsey. He has like another guy that works with him named Chris Hogan. So between the 2 of them, I have not only healed my money issues, my freaking ridiculous litigation strategy, but I have healed my internal spiritual issues with money and my poverty, my impoverishment money story. And because my behaviors, by using credit cards to fund litigation, that was directly related to the mindset that I grew up with. Okay. Because people with a healthy mindset with money will not charge up fucking 20 credit cards, excuse my language. Like they just won't do that. Like that. You don't use credit cards to fund something like that. What somebody with a healthy relationship with money could have done, and I'm not saying this is what you have to do. Like I am not here to tell you guys what to do. Look, I'm freaking 41 and I'm fixing my stuff. Okay. I'm late. I'm a late bloomer with all this. Okay. You guys may have figured your stuff out years ago, but what I should have done and what I would have done if I had known, but at the same time, I could not have healed stuff unless I put myself under and hit rock bottom. Does that make sense? So sometimes you have to go through severe undue burdens to learn the story that you need to learn. Sometimes you have to really hit bottom so that you could figure out what you need to figure out. So it's kind of stupid to say, well, I should have done it this way because I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the information back then. And I had to go through this ridiculous ordeal with money to get the insights that I have now. Okay. And because I have these insights, I get to live another 40 years with an extremely positive money story. Okay. Like I will never own another credit card ever again, ever. I don't want a credit card. I don't care. If I want to rent a car, they can use my debit card. If I want to buy something, cash. Like I don't use credit cards anymore. Nope. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. And I'm a business. I own 2 businesses and I'm still using cash to fund, to run my businesses. I will not use a credit card again. And so to get to this point, I had to go through that messiness, that horrible messiness for years. Cause that's, it takes 7 years for stuff to fall off your credit report. So now stuff is starting to fall off my credit report. And so my point to you right now it's not the family court that created this. It was my impoverished mindset that got me here. And the family court was just a convenient scapegoat. It's like, oh yeah, the family court made me do that. Family court made me do this. Family court made me do that. Family court made me use credit cards. I had to use credit cards. No, it was my broke mindset that said that was a good idea. Okay. Now, a lot of us do this. Like there's some really amazing people out there that do stuff like this. There's some incredible people that have a really messed up money story. And there's people that are amazing with money, very healthy with money, and just really bad with relationships. So like we're all human. We do what we got to do to get through life. And we have to learn really hard lessons sometimes. So I'm just to be sitting here right now, sharing this with you after everything I've been through is like, wow. Okay. Like, I actually feel like I've like healed from cancer. Okay. Cause it feels like a cancer, and you guys know this. I don't have to tell you this. I'm preaching to the choir. So what I want you to do tonight, instead of just listening to me ramble on and on, I want you to, now, if you're feeling triggered and this doesn't feel good to you and you're like, oh, I can't listen to this. I get it. Because I would not have been able to listen to this live stream 5 years ago. There's no way. I would have been like, no, I'm skipping that. I'm not doing that. So do not do this unless you are kind of open-minded to it. Okay. You can challenge yourself a little bit, like push yourself. But if you're feeling triggered and you're feeling like, ugh, then don't do it. You're not ready. Okay. You're not ready. It's fine. Okay. I wasn't ready until recently. So what I want you to do is I want you to take out a piece of paper and a pen and write down all of the money issues that you've, like all of the numerical money challenges you've had. What I mean is all the child support that you've had to pay. So if you're paying $100 a week, multiply that by 52 and then multiply that by your kid's age. Or like, if your children were taken when they were 5 and 6, figure out the numerical value in child support that you have to pay to your abuser or the parent who stole the kids from you, and get to 18 or whatever. Figure out what you're paying in child support, what you've had to pay, all that stuff. Okay. And I want you to also think about all the attorneys that you paid, all the retainers. Don't put in what you still owe them, just what you've paid. Actually, you know what? Put in what you owe them too. If you owe them 20 grand, put that down. If you owe another attorney 5 grand, put that down. If you paid an evaluator 10 grand, put that down. Transcripts, if you had to appeal and you had to buy transcripts, put that down. If you had to, court fees, sanctions, if you were incarcerated and you had to purge your incarceration, any sort of thing you can count up that relates to your family court story, I want you to write that down. Okay. Now your number might be 100,000. It might be 200,000. It might be 30,000. Add all that up. And I want you to now, if you have a Sharpie, even better, take a giant, draw a giant X through that final number, because that number doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. A toxic money relationship has nothing to do with the amount of money that was taken from you. Has nothing to do with it. You could have a toxic relationship with money only out 10 grand, and you could have a healthy relationship with money being out $500,000. Okay. Your relationship with money is an internal spiritual thing that has to be cleared. And it likely came from your ancestry or your parents or your really old past experiences, because the family court is really just a scapegoat. The family court did not cause money. Like the family court probably made you broke for a while, but the family court did not cause the deep-rooted money issues that you have. I'm definitely somebody that had severe issues with money pretty much my whole life. Like poverty, there's not enough money to go around. It's try being a business owner with money issues. Like it ain't pretty, trust me. Okay. So your money story is healable. You could transform your money story. You could heal your money story. Again, one of the most amazing things I've ever done in my life was follow Dave Ramsey. Like, oh my God, it was amazing. My best friend introduced me to him. I was like messaging her 5 times a day. Like, oh my God. I just took, cause he has a program called Financial Peace University, and it's like $130 or something. And I was like, every time I took a lesson, I would message my best friend. It was like 2 a.m. I was like, oh my God, lesson 5 is amazing. Holy crap. It's like, I couldn't shut up about it. Okay. And I still can't shut up about it. And understand that like lots of people lose a lot of money, a lot of people lose a lot of money. I have friends down the street that own a pizza place. They just shut down their pizza place last week because of COVID. And they are out so much money. They owe property taxes. Like they're out. And the husband's like 50 and the wife is like 40. And they have 3 kids. And it's like, okay, but they're going to be fine because they have this mindset where they're like, well, we'll just deal with it. You can figure out that number that you wrote down. You can figure that out. It's just math. It's just numbers. You could do whatever it takes. Like what I had to do to get out of this was like, it's so much sacrificing, but not in a painful way. It was very healing. It was like just chipping away at stuff one bit at a time was incredible. It's incredible. It's an incredible experience. It's a life-changing experience. And what you learn from this will leave a permanent mark on you. And it will help you in the future, because like money is going to be a part of your life no matter where you're at in the spectrum. Like you're going to be 80 years old dealing with Social Security and pensions and stuff like that. You know, you're always going to have money stuff in your life. And so it's about your relationship and not so much the amount. Your circumstances do not define your money story at all. You could lose your house in a hurricane and be underwater, no pun intended, in the mortgage. You could have like home equity lines of credit out the yin yang and have your house destroyed in a hurricane and then be forced to pay back those lines of credit. Like you can be in a very tight, horrible financial situation and still be okay, because you can use the numbers and the numerical problem solving skills to get out of it. And so if you want to learn more, just definitely check out Dave Ramsey, his programs. And dollar for dollar, you are capable of rebuilding yourself out of any situation. I don't care how little money you make. I don't care what your situation is. And so I know a lot of you are going to be thinking like, okay, fine. So how do I get through family court? How do I get through all this? How do I deal with attorneys and GALs? How do I pay for all this crap? If you're telling me that my money story doesn't matter, or like, if you're telling me all this, how am I going to pay for my litigation? So because at the end of the day, if your attorney is sending you a bill for 20 grand and you only have like 2 grand in the bank, that's obviously there's a deficit. And so this is not advice. This is not financial advice. That's not my expertise. But from what I've learned in my experience, having crawled out of this ridiculous hole for like 10 years, this is just what I would do. I would not charge legal fees on a credit card, for one thing, because if you owe your attorney a lot of money, that's not going to hit your credit score. Charging up your credit cards to pay legal fees is going to hurt your credit score. And I don't know why. I remember, I think I've had at least 5 or 6 clients take out personal loans to pay for their attorneys. Now, I understand if your attorney asks for a huge retainer. I could understand why you would want to do that. But when you have an actual legal bill, if you're getting invoices in the mail, why would you take out a loan to pay that? Why not just make payments to the attorney? Why not just pay the attorney $25 a month or $25 a week? You can do that. You can absolutely do that. So there's no reason to hurt yourself financially more by taking out loans to pay off an attorney. Now, if you need a retainer, I would pay that retainer in cash. I would use what you have in the bank to pay your retainer. And if you don't have $5,000 and they're asking for that, I would not hire that attorney until you have the $5,000. And here's the thing. Here's the caveat here, because I know what you guys are thinking. You guys are like, my kids need me. You know, I get it. Look, I've been there. My 3-year-old didn't even know who I was. My 3-year-old would go so long without seeing me because I had this weird thing in my schedule where if my day fell on like a federal holiday, I had to skip my time with him. And for the longest time, my only day of the week with him was on a Monday. And so if it was Martin Luther King's Day, I didn't get to see him. If it was Labor Day, I didn't get to see him. If it was Memorial Day, I didn't get to see him. And so there were times where I would go 2 weeks without seeing him. And he was 3 years old and he didn't recognize me when I went to pick him up from school. Like, he probably did, but like, it was so freaking ridiculous. It was an abomination. So I get it. Your kids need, like, I get that desperation. Like, you just want, So what I would do, this is what I would do. If you don't have the cash to pay for an attorney, their retainer, because again, guys, I'm not a fan of racking up credit card bills to pay for an attorney. It's kind of a toxic way of managing your case. What I would do, I would learn my rights on my own. You could buy Ron and Sherry Palmer's book for $35. You can watch YouTube videos on your rights. You can find lots and lots of legal stuff on YouTube. Someone said, actually, I kicked her out of this group, but she was really mean about it. What she said was true, but she was mean about it. She wrote a bunch of nasty stuff after that. But she said a lot of the stuff you do, you could learn on YouTube, and that's absolutely true. I tell people all the time, go to YouTube to learn. Sometimes you'll find somebody uploading a legal lecture onto YouTube. You know, I don't know if they're allowed to do that, but there's so much out there. Like there's more content out there than you'll ever be able to consume in your lifetime about what your rights are. And being in family court does not mean that your rights are different. Like family court's not special. Family court is just like any other court. So if something applies, then it applies in family court. Okay. It's like, if it applies in civil court, if it applies in small claims court, it's going to apply in family court too. Family court is not special. Like, what are they doing anyway? They're freaking deciding if your child goes with you on Thanksgiving or not. They're deciding if your ex was late to drop off. Like, what? Family courts are useless. So with a court that has so little like impact on the world, they have to run their courts in alignment with the actual laws. They're a legal court. So learn your rights through YouTube, learn your rights through books, go to the library, get a book. Like, there's so much information. You're never going to be able to consume it all. I would start with Ron and Sherry Palmer's book, watch these live streams, like, this is how I learned, and learn, because for every hour you put in learning, you're saving yourself time that you have to have an attorney do it for you. And I guarantee you, your attorney is not using your rights in the family court anyway. If you're stuck and you don't know how to cross-examine someone, get a book on how to cross-examine someone. The law hasn't changed that much. Okay. The principles are very similar. There's always case law, and like there's new statutory law that always comes out. There's always new, but in family law, with such a dumbed down law, like legal realm, it's a very simple law. Okay. Because parenting hasn't changed. You give birth or you father a child, you're that child's parent, whether the freaking state likes it or not, whether your ex likes it or not. And so parental rights haven't changed that much. And so if you're leading with parental rights, then you're going to be fine. Learn as much as you can. And the more you learn, the less you need attorneys. So, and if you do need an attorney, you can hire them a la carte. You can just call up an attorney and say, can I just pay you for like 2 hours of your time to do blah, blah, blah for me? Or can I ask you to teach me how to do it? And see if you could record the conversation on YouTube, Zoom or something. Just ask. It doesn't hurt, right? And then you can, or meet with them at a coffee shop, granted that we get rid of these stupid mask mandates, meet them at a coffee shop, have them teach you stuff, and you just write it all down. Okay. Just write it down. If they're not representing you, if they haven't filed an appearance, they're not going to be concerned that you're like just ask them, like, what do you have to lose? I mean, gosh, if I'm an attorney, I would rather sit in a coffee shop with someone and tell them how the Fourth Amendment works, or how to present evidence, or how to mark evidence, or how to cross-examine a witness, or how to qualify an expert witness or disqualify a witness. I would rather teach someone that than drive to the freaking state court and pay parking and stand in line and deal with nasty litigants and deal with clerks and judges. And I would rather So what's stopping you from doing that? And why aren't we empowering ourselves to do it that way? Like, the system has completely bastardized our intelligence. The system has us believing that we need to breastfeed off the system forever. And that's not true. So you can do this differently. Listen to my most recent podcast episode. Like, stop being normal with family court, because it's a very simple court. It's like small claims court. Okay. And not to make this sound weird, but it's your kids. It's like small claims court for people with kids, and you can do this differently than how I did it. And my 30s were ruined. I couldn't buy a car in my 30s. I could not rent an apartment in my 30s. There's no way I could have bought a house in my 30s. I had no options. And fortunately, I know how to live very cheap. I know how to live on refried beans and toast and stuff like that. And I don't like material things. Like, I'm not a spender. I'm not a big spender. Okay. I could live very cheaply. So it kind of worked, but this whole thing ruined a lot of opportunities for me. And that was because of my choices, not because the court system sucks. And another thing, saying no is a tremendous lifesaver. It's a tremendous lifesaver. It's a sanity saver. It's an energy saver. It's a money saver, and it's a time saver. So there are ways we could do this differently and work. And so instead of adopting an impoverished mindset, you can heal your relationship with money. And there was something else I wanted to say. And it was really good too. It was like, it was brilliant. What was it? It'll come back. So you, it's going to bother me. But okay, so here's another perspective I want you to take. I think this is what I was thinking about. I want you to look at this experience, because a lot of you guys are in long-term hell, like long-term financial impoverishment. Look at this as your PhD on how to pull yourself out of difficult situations. Because whatever your number is, let's say you're out 200 grand. There are people that will spend $200,000 on a PhD or a master's degree and come out really intelligent, like know how to do stuff. But your ability to pull yourself out of this, which is possible, by the way, I don't care how bad your situation is. You can absolutely fix this. You can heal this. You can heal it dollar for dollar. You can heal it, and you can heal it spiritually and internally. Use Dave Ramsey for the financial. Like, I'm not a budget. Like, I'm not someone. I don't know how to teach financial stuff, but Dave Ramsey has taught me how to budget, taught me how to plan. Every dollar I earn now has a purpose. I don't just drive by and be like, oh, there's a Starbucks. Let me just buy a Starbucks. And if I do, I log the expense right away. I'm like, oh, I spent $4.53 in Starbucks, and I put it into my app, and that money has an assignment now. And once my money is out at the end of the month, I'm done. I better learn how to live on refried beans and toast, because when my food budget is done, I'm done. And so, and same thing with clothes. Like, I ran out of something recently. What was it? And I said, nope, I don't have, it's not in the budget anymore. It was, I ran out of hair conditioner. Okay. I can't condition my hair until March. Okay. Cause I ran out of conditioner and it's not in the budget. And so I just adjust my life around my budget. It's like, and it's not a big deal. It's like, I actually have more freedom now that I budget than I did before, when I just was like, oh, it's like everything has I just plan everything now, and it's not that difficult. It gave me a gigantic sense of safety and freedom. And I'm telling you, you guys can fix this. Like, you can fix it, and you will fix it. And so I want you to look at this experience and don't get toxic about your experience. Like, don't get into this toxic, like, the family court screwed me, I have no opportunities left. A lot of clients that I work with complain that they can't date. They say stuff like, no one's going to want me. I'm out 30 grand. I live with my parents. Like, no one's going to want me. And that's just not true. Like, you can pull yourself out of this. Okay. And you are dateable. You are worthy. You are lovable. You are worthy of all the things. And when you do pull yourself out of this financial mess, you're going to have this massive amount of soft skills that are going to benefit you forever. And I mean, I tell parents all the time, I'm like, if you could say no to a GAL when you're 40, when you're 85 and someone's trying to put you into, and someone's trying to make you sign something for something that you don't consent to, because, doctors and hospitals like to prey on older people sometimes to make them agree to things that they don't agree with, like certain procedures, like a mammogram or something. And if you're 85 and you don't care if you have breast cancer, you could say no, but sometimes they'll try to push it on you. And then, and so you're going to know how to say no to things later. When you're, learning how to say no will last you forever. Learning how to freaking be resourceful will last you forever. So all these skills that you're learning in your family court trauma is going to last you the rest of your life. And so you're not a victim. You're not a freaking, you're not impoverished. You're not broken. Okay. And I just wanted to share that with you. So, it's weird. I don't see any comments, and I don't know why. I don't know why no one's commenting. It's really weird. Usually I get like 1 million comments, and now I don't see any. So let me just see if anyone's saying anything. maybe you're not commenting. Maybe you're just like, wow. Or maybe you're laughing at me. So let's see here. Okay. Well, so let me just see. Oops, that's weird. I don't know why there's no comments. Why aren't you guys saying anything? That's really weird. I don't know. Weird technology. So if anyone would like to comment, you're welcome to do that. You're certainly, I'll respond to you. I'll respond back. So I hope that you enjoyed this live stream tonight, and we will talk next Monday. And again, if you're interested in coming on to the masterclass next week, then I want you to take advantage of that. And if you do decide to get into my course, The Best Interest of the Parent, do not put it on a credit card. If you don't have the money for it, wait until you have the money and then get into the course. Okay. I'm telling you, do not charge money to work with me. Work with me when you have the money. I'm always going to be here. I ain't going nowhere. Okay. And you are able to afford what you need to afford to get what you need to get. Okay. And you are resourceful enough. All right. So excellent. I hope that you all, someone made a comment. Guys, I usually have like 50 comments by the end of my live stream and I don't have any. And I'm like, oh, maybe they don't like me. So, all right. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for the comment. Someone said, I think everything you've touched on is valuable. I don't have a question, but always love to hear your wisdom. Yeah, it's probably because I'm not ranting and raving like usual. I'm being like, more inspirational this time. All right. Excellent. So we will talk next Monday. Thank you for validating me with that comment. Thank you for assuring me that the technology isn't crashing. All right. We'll talk next Monday. Have a good night, guys.